Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming to Careers with Comm Arts, Media and Entertainment this evening. My name is Michael Cruz. I work at SuccessWorks at the College of Letters and Science, and I would like to introduce Kelly Conway, the chair of the Comm Arts department, to give a short welcome.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kelly, chair of the Department of Communication Arts. Welcome to Careers with Comm Arts. We are very excited about this. It's the first time we've ever done anything like this. It's a collaboration between the Department of Communication Arts, SuccessWorks, which is the career development center of the College of Letters and Science, located in the bookstore on the third floor. And finally, it's a collaboration with Communication Arts Partners, our department's alumni board. So we're working really hard these days to figure out how to help students work on career development. We want our majors to imagine all the possible careers available to them, connect with our alumni, and secure a great internship, and then move on to a promising position shortly after they graduate. So tonight's event is meant to support that effort. For the very first time, members of our alumni board have stepped up to speak with you directly. I'm deeply grateful for their time and expertise. Thank you also, SuccessWorks, for your expert assistance with tonight's event. So our guest speakers were all in your shoes not so long ago. I think 3 out of 4 of our guests tonight are Wisconsin natives, and most of them grew up in small towns and came to Madison and found their way to Vilas Hall. And then they took a lot of courses and did very well, but then they had to figure out, what is next? Most of these folks figured it out on their own, because back then people weren't so focused on career development, but we're trying to change that. So they have all managed to build extraordinary careers in the arena of media and entertainment. So let's give a warm welcome to Sean Hanisch of Cannonball Productions, Eric Hellam of Town Square Media, Kelly Call of CBS, and Adam Schweitzer of ICM, International Creative Management. I'll hand it back to you, Michael.
Great, thank you. I just have a very brief overview of what this event is going to look like. So we'll have each of the alumni panelists give about a 5-minute introduction of themselves, their career path, and what their current work looks like. And after that, we're going to move into breakout rooms. So all 4 alumni will be in separate breakout rooms. We have the alumni bios in the chat. So students, you can have those open. You can learn about the alumni while they're speaking and then have some questions prepared. So we're encouraging students to navigate between the breakout rooms every maybe 15 to 20 minutes to hear from as many of the alumni as you can while the event is going on. And then when you're in the breakout rooms, you can ask a question on, turn your camera on, turn your mic on and ask something, or put it in the chat to ask your questions there. So if you're not familiar with Zoom, when breakout rooms begin, this is kind of what the screen will look like. And you'll just click on the little join link next to the person that you want to speak to. And you'll be able to move between those rooms throughout the event this evening. So this is what the room assignments will look like. In room 1, it'll be Sean Hanisch. Room 2, Eric Hellam. Room 3, Kelly Call. And room 4, Adam Schweitzer. And this is also the order that I'm going to ask our alumni to give their introductions in. So without further ado, I'm going to turn off this PowerPoint and I will turn it over to Sean Hanisch to tell us about himself.
All right. Thank you, Michael. Hello, everyone. It's lovely to be seeing you, and I guess I'll launch into a little bio to let you know who I am and what I do. And yes, as Kelly had mentioned, I was absolutely sitting in the same seats as all of you are, because I grew up in Wisconsin. Okay, so I grew up in Wisconsin. I'm from Milwaukee. Really kind of spent most of my formative years in Brookfield, which is on the west side. And then I went to Madison, and because I loved it, and also like everybody in my family had gone to Madison, but I had no idea what I wanted to do. I legitimately did not know. So I went in as pre-business. I don't even know if pre-business was actually a thing, but it just meant I have no idea what I want to do. So I took courses everywhere. I took some economics. Anyway. And then I kept getting this pull because I thought film was the most amazing thing in the world. I always had. And so I started taking a couple courses there. I took a David Bordwell Introduction to Film course, which was taught by David at the time, which is amazing. And then I took we shot, when I was back there, we shot on Super 8, right? And we edited. And I think the first time that I ever realized that I fell in love with film and stories was in the halls there of Vilas, when I started editing my first Super 8 film. And I had just gotten like a bunch of friends. It was like January, right? I had gotten a bunch of friends out to play a snow football game, and I put the Charlie Brown, Vince Guaraldi Christmas music. And I showed up there at like 7 at night with like a sandwich and a soda, thinking, I'm just working on this for a couple hours. Like the next time I looked up at the clock, it was 5 a.m. And I was like, it was the first time I kind of marked it and said, wow, like I don't even know where the time went. I was so involved in editing. And so I kind of like, I made note of that, and I was like, well, maybe more of this, please. So fortunately, our Comm Arts department at the time, I was in school with Eric Gunnison, who was kind of a mentor for me also, and that had access to everything, had access to cameras, editorial equipment, and the stage, and it was a great place to learn about the history of film and film theory. And so I applied to film schools for graduate school. I was fortunate enough to get into USC, which kind of blew my mind. And what also blew my mind is that when I arrived at USC, I realized that the film history and film theory courses at Madison, I thought they were better than USC's, which is, I think that's saying something. But it was such a great kind of, I don't know, it was such a fertile garden of ideas, and you could work, and everybody wanted to work together. And that's where you guys are, and that's where I came from. And then since then, I'm currently in Pasadena, California. I have directed 3 feature films. The last one was released in theaters 2 years ago, called St. Judy. It starred Michelle Monaghan and Alfre Woodard and Common. It was the 3rd film I'd made, and as a director and producer. So how did I get from those seats in USC to here? Is I tried everything. You just lean into all these opportunities. I was in the early days, I was directing very small commercials. I did have the good fortune. My father was in advertising, so I've been on sets a lot since I was a teenager, really. I was even in a pickle commercial when I was a kid, which was, that's why I'm behind the camera. So anyway, basically I tried everything. I mean, I wrote for a while. I got to I directed a bunch of shorts. I did some documentary projects. I kind of, it was all about storytelling, whether that storytelling was in 30 seconds or the storytelling was over a couple of hours. And so, through some, I produced, with Kelly Call, I produced a couple of ice skating shows in the 90s. I mean, it's fun. well, that's also what I want to say is, like, look at the folks around you and who you have these relationships with. Like, that's Kelly and I. I mean, Kelly and I have known each other for a long time. And since undergrad. Anyway, but Kelly and I work together to this day. He executive produced my 3 movies, and we're working on a great documentary project that we're producing and creating together. So those bonds never stop. If you keep them up, and I would say that, keep up your network, keep up your friends, especially the ones that are on the same path as you. You can help each other out a lot. You can give each other a lot of encouragement. I'm trying to think what else kind of holds this together, other than, I did at one point, because I wanted to make features, I actually took a hiatus. I stopped making commercials for a while because it's something I desperately wanted to do, and had the great fortune of getting Minnie Driver into a movie my first movie. Again, Kelly helped executive produce that, and she ended up getting nominated for an Emmy in that film, and I ended up getting nominated for a Writers Guild Award. So it was a big leap of faith, but at a certain point in your lives, I'm sure you'll all come to a point where you're like, do I take the risk or not? And I'm living proof that if you take the risk, you can come out the other side. So anyway, that's me. And right now I'm both working on commercials and commercial projects here at Cannonball Productions. It's my own production company. There's a handful of us, and I'm producing films and getting have stuff in development, and hope to shoot another feature here once COVID lets up, and we can all get back to hopefully some kind of new normal of production. Did that? How's that?
That was great. That was great. Thank you, Sean. Thank you. I would like to ask Eric Kellum to unmute and tell us about yourself.
Thank you, Michael. I'm still trying to figure out if I'm going to be in Gryffindor or Slytherin, but I guess we'll find that out when we go into the when we go into the chat rooms. It's interesting listening to. Well, it's always interesting listening to Sean. I love hanging out with him. We're on the alumni board together, along with Kelly and Adam and about 26 others that really care about all of you and what you're trying to accomplish and want to help however we can. Would absolutely wish we were there in person. That's certainly the intention in October, that we're all vaccinated and back in action and back together. But in the meantime, I'm so glad we're doing this. When I was listening to Sean, I thought, if you pursue your passion and then you take some strategic, calculated risks along the way, it's amazing how things turn out. Like, none of us ever thought we'd be doing what we're doing now. We just worked and put our nose to the grindstone and did what we loved and did good work. And then all of a sudden it plays out and you look back and you're having a conversation like today going, wow, how did that happen? Unlike Sean, I actually knew what I wanted to do when I was 14 years old. We had a high school radio station. I'm from Burlington, Wisconsin, which is down in Racine County, and small town. We had one of 4 high school radio stations in the state. And I'm like, wait, I can get out of study hall and then I can play music and be on the radio? That's awesome. And I never had to go to study hall ever again. And I fell in love with it. And that's all I wanted to do. And the other thing I wanted to do was go to Madison. I love the town. I love the school. I don't even know if I applied anywhere else. That's what I wanted to do. And I met my wife there. I was an RA at Celery. She was, met her there and loved my experience at Comm Arts. And like Sean, had classes with, film history classes with David Bordwell and Tino Ballio, and documentary classes with Vance Kepley. And even though I didn't want to go into film, I couldn't get enough of the film classes because they were that good. And I loved the medium so much. There was a couple of radio classes. There was one on production, one on history. So I can't say that the Comm Arts degree helped me specifically be great at a radio specifically, but boy, it taught me how to write and communicate effectively. It taught me how to think strategically. It gave me a greater appreciation of the history of the medium and also the history of radio and film, or TV and film, that I've been able to draw on throughout the years, and obviously just had a great 4-year experience. But unlike you, there wasn't a lot of help in mentoring or internships or guidance like this. So you just kind of jumped out there and got a job, and that's what I did. And I was in sales. So I sold national spot advertising to national advertisers for 10 years and did well and loved it. But then I came to a career crossroads where I said, do I want to be in sales the rest of my life, or do I want to be involved in the whole operation? And I love content. And I wanted to be involved in the whole operation. So for the next 6 years, I ran stations in a couple markets, including Phoenix. I was there for 4 years. It's great. Launched a news station on FM, launched the first all 24-hour all sports station. We had the Phoenix Suns and the Arizona Diamondbacks and Arizona State University and the Cardinals. So we had all the teams. It was a blast just producing content like that. And I loved not only being involved with the sales side, but being involved with content, launching the digital extensions of those business, which is newer at that time. This is like 04, 05. Being involved in the accounting part, the business, understanding how we drive profit and grow a business and how we need to evolve and what our advantages were versus the competition. And although I could never be mistaken for an engineer, even learn some of the technical aspects of it. I just love that whole thing. And in 2008, just one of those lucky moments that you're going to find happen along the way. I got a phone call asking if I was interested in running a smaller company. It was 60 radio stations in 12 markets, but the thesis of the company was, hey, we're going to run great radio stations and do a great job selling them and creating content, but we're going to use that to build out a digital company, use the cash flow, but also use the local relationships, the local salespeople, the local personalities to build out a digital business. So I quit, which was an awesome job and a great company, like 5 months before September of '08 happened and the severe recession happened. There's a few moments where I'm like, what the hell? I'm sorry, what the heck did I just do? But it worked out. I mean, I got a chance to run a company that 2 years later got folded into a bigger company. I've been with this company called Town Square Media for the last 10 years. I'm currently the COO, and Town Square is the third largest owner of radio stations in the United States, 321 stations in 67 markets. But the cool part, I mean, just because you're big doesn't mean anything. The cool part is what we've done to transform the company. We've used those great local salespeople that have relationships with local advertisers. We've worked with the local personalities that have a unique connection with their audience and a real strong connection with the local community. And we've taught them digital over the last 10 years and build digital businesses as a result. So we now build websites and mobile sites and do search engine optimization for 21,000 small to mid-sized businesses across the country and markets our size. We taught all our DJs how to, I mean, this sounds so basic now, but we taught all our DJs how to write posts and how to produce content online and great local content. We now produce over 20,000 pieces of local content every single month. And then we taught our salespeople how to go sell that. And as a result of taking a traditional media and building it out into a digital business at a time where, we obviously needed to do that, almost half of our revenues are digital, and we're the fastest growing company in the space. And it's so much fun seeing younger people coming into the company that have all these career opportunities that were never there in radio before, because 10 years ago, there wasn't a digital managing editor in the market. There wasn't somebody building websites. There wasn't somebody selling websites. There wasn't all these jobs that exist now. And it's fun to see how that's evolved. So that's it. Proud Badger, wife and 2 sons, one at USC, Sean, and I couldn't get either one to go to University of Wisconsin. So I did fail there, but I guess I'll try with my grandkids someday.
Great, thank you, Eric. Next, I'll turn it over to Kelly Call.
Thanks, Michael. Great to be here. I understand you had a spring-like day today, which is exciting to hear. I always remember that the first day it's 50, you go out and you wear shorts and stuff. I live in California. When it's 50 here, people put like parkas and scarves on. It's kind of silly. If you do enough of these, if you don't go first, you can kind of cop and steal things from the people who spoke in front of you. So I'm gonna steal liberally from Sean and Eric. I also come from a small town in Wisconsin, the same small town as Eric. I worked on the same high school radio station as he did. I knew at age 6 what I wanted to do for a living, which was schedule a television network. I used to watch Saturday morning cartoons and loved them. And every year I would wonder why Super Friends would go from 8:30 to 9, or Scooby-Doo would go from 10 o'clock back to 7 o'clock. It fascinated me. I can't explain it. I don't know why I liked it, but it was some kind of 3D chess that I just really enjoyed and really engaged me. I worked on the radio station. I loved media, loved television. But when I went to Madison, I started as an engineer because I didn't see a pathway to working in television. I didn't see a pathway to becoming a network television scheduler, because there were like 3 jobs like that in the world. It was, easier to be a senator than it was to be a network scheduler. So I did what was the prudent thing. I studied engineering, and I was okay at it, but my God, the days beat me down. You would sit and study equations for just hours on end, and I was miserable. And I said to myself, I don't want to do this the rest of my life. I'm sure it got better, but crunching equations on Thursday night when my friends were out drinking was not fun. So I decided to kind of pursue the passion. And like the day before I went back, I think my sophomore year, I told my dad, who was a public school teacher, I said, hey, I think I'm going to go from, engineering to communications. And he's a pragmatic guy. And to be honest, I thought he was going to say, what the hell's the matter with you? And I said, I probably won't make as much money, but I think I'll be happy. And my dad's response, which I always remember and gets me sometimes, he said, I've been teaching for 30 years. Do you think I do it for the money? He said, pursue what you want to pursue and be happy in life. So I did that, and that was like a light switch. I started taking communications classes. I took a class with Professor Cantor, learned about TV history, and it felt like I was home. This was the stuff that engaged me, and I couldn't get enough of it. I couldn't, so much so that I couldn't get enough. I had to enroll for more years in a master's program at USC. So I packed up my crappy car, drove to LA. I didn't know anybody except my pal Sean Hanish, and I crashed on his couch for a few nights before I figured out a place to live. And I kept learning about communications in the master's program at USC. Through that, I got an internship at a place called Lorimar Television. If anybody remembers Family Matters and Urkel and Dallas and things like that, that was the company, and the company that eventually produced ER and Friends. And I got to work on the early days of those shows, and that was kind of heady stuff when you're a young guy starting out. To me, these stories are all, it's a little bit of kind of luck and hard work, and you kind of need the combination. Some people just get lucky. There's no question. Some actor gets tapped on the shoulder in a department store, and that's next thing you know, he's starring in a movie. And on the other hand, some people work their asses off all their lives and quite frankly, just never get there. And that's kind of the weird thing about entertainment is it's really not a meritocracy. It takes a little of each. It takes, I believe the hard work kind of helps make the luck for you. And, I worked very hard at Lorimar as an intern for a long time, not getting paid. And I just tried to absorb as much as I could. I literally sat in the copy room and went through the garbage and read reports about business affairs. And I learned what the actors were making and how much the networks were paying for shows. And I just tried to absorb as much as I could. And that is paid off for me later in life. In 1996, I got a chance to go to CBS, and I got the dream job. I got to be head of scheduling for a major network, and I got to help decide which shows went where, where Survivor would air, what would go behind the Super Bowl. And that continues. And there was a joy to that, where it was like I was getting paid. And it was exciting that I was getting paid to work in Hollywood, but it almost didn't matter because every day was so much fun. And about 3 years ago, I got tapped to become the president of entertainment at CBS, and that was new learning for me. I got to learn more on the creative side, what goes into making a great show, talking to producers, talking to actors. Talking to agents like Adam, getting their help, learning how to put a team together, keep a team together, and make great television shows. And it is a team effort. And I would just pass this on quick, but the last year in COVID has really taught some new management lessons for me, and I think all of us as a team, because instead of my office at Television City, I'm working out of an office at home, and I'm trying to manage a couple hundred people just on Zooms like this every day. And it's exhausting, and we're literally coming up on a year of this being out of the office. And if you had said a year ago we were going to be out for a year, I would have said there's no freaking way we can pull this off, that we could put TV shows on the air. But we did it, and we're doing it successfully from home. And, this was a good week that, Sunday night we had Oprah and Meghan and Harry on, and, we got about 20 million people who've watched it. And those are the kind of things that make it exciting and make it rewarding when you kind of gamble, when you kind of invest, and you put some great content on the air and people respond. That still gives you kind of goosebumps. So that's where I'm at, and I'm looking forward to the breakout sessions, and I will pass the torch.
Great. Thank you, Kelly. And last but not least, Adam Schweitzer, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. So I guess I'm the one person who's not from Wisconsin of the four of us. I'm born and raised in New York City, and wanted to get far, far away when it was time to figure out where I was going to go to school. So Madison seemed like a great place to go. To tell you the truth, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I kind of did. I sort of always knew what I wanted to do. I just didn't know what it was called, and I didn't really know what it was. And I didn't know what an agent was for sure, but I loved this business, at least from afar, and was such a huge fan of movies and television shows and, you know, theater and everything I could consume. Loved actors, loved great performances, could recite any line to anything, you know, watched too much television as a kid, and basically knew that I wanted to be involved in these people's careers, and knew that I wanted to be dealing with people and making deals, and I just didn't know what this was. So I went to Wisconsin. I figured big school, lots of things to study, lots of choices there. I'll figure it out as I go. Realized that you can actually study film, which was amazing to me. And so it was a pretty easy choice to major in Comm Arts. And when and what I didn't know I was going to get myself into was taking sort of a passion or an excitement about something and really starting to understand it in a classroom setting, which was just totally different, but it gave me a very different perspective, I think, on what the thing was that I was so interested in. And so I started doing internships, you know, working for free and things. Didn't really have many connections in the business. And also, you know, as much as I had a great experience in the classroom, didn't really have that pipeline to the industry, or didn't really have that guidance as to what are the jobs, how do you meet people, how do you network and get in there. So it was a little bit, as Kelly said, a little bit of luck, a little bit of hard work, a little bit of hustling, a little bit of making, I guess, a couple of right turns, right decisions at the right time. But ultimately, I spent a year after school working at this little production company because it was, quite frankly, a job offer, and I needed to work and I needed to make some money, and I just wanted to try something. And it was very hands-on physical production. I spent most of my time for 12 months in an editing room, assisting an editor and renting camera equipment and doing things that, quite frankly, was not interesting to me. I mean, it was very cool to see how things were made, but not what I wanted to do. But the guy who ran the company he knew talent. He knew, I mean, basically what he would do was he would have some big, you know, sports star. He would have John McEnroe or Shaq or someone like that come into the office, and he'd have people from, you know, CBS or NBC or something come in there, and he'd have someone from Nike there, and all of a sudden they'd be in a group conference room and he'd be putting on a whole show, and he'd walk out of there with a commitment with a sponsor and a 1 hour special on NBC for, you know, about Shaquille O'Neal or something. And it was just amazing to me to watch him sort of connect the dots, put the pieces together, sort of schmooze everybody and turn it into a deal like this. So I asked him if I could speak to him, and I said, look, I'm grateful for the job. I'm happy to work here. This is it's a great experience, but I watch what you do, and I'd love to learn from you. And can I work for you directly? Can I shadow you? Like, how do I learn to do sort of what you do? And he said, look, there's only one of me here, and everyone else sort of does what you do, but what you're describing and what you want to do is be an agent, and you should really go do that. And it was very lucky because he was right. And so I somehow managed to get my resume to ICM at the time. This is now 20 years ago. And I interviewed, and I got a job as an assistant working for a talent agent, and knew right away. I knew within probably 48 hours of doing that job that that's really what I wanted to do, and really what I was meant to do. and that it was just a perfect fit for me. So I felt really, really lucky, and I was totally hooked on the competitiveness of the job. I loved all of it. Sort of like Kelly was saying, I devoured contracts. I sat there and read through everything and tried to understand deals and, you know, how actors were getting paid and what it all meant, and, you know, reading scripts and listening in on my boss's conversations, even the ones he told me to get off of, and you know, just really learning as much as I possibly could. And I was totally addicted to it and loved it. And so there were some other changes and things along the way, but essentially I've been in this business doing this ever since then. And, you know, the role has changed over the years, you know, but what hasn't changed is why I loved it from the beginning, which is really working with actors, being involved in their careers, helping to guide them. Unlike Sean, you know, I took film production classes. I was a really shitty filmmaker. That's not, I realized very quickly that that's not where my talent lies. And so that was really fun, but not what I was good at, but behind the scenes and making things happen was what I wanted to be doing. And so it was great. And so, look, my day-to-day job is representing actors. That's changed a lot as the business has changed, and sort of the opportunities that come their way, and sort of what it all looks like is a little bit, or quite frankly, it's a lot different than when I started. But the other thing that's changed is sort of my role in the agency, which has grown a lot, and which has been a lot of fun too. I really enjoy mentoring people. I enjoy sort of being in a leadership position. So, you know, I ran the talent department for about 10 years or 11 years at the agency. And then about a year and a half ago or so, we sort of changed it up a little bit. Now I sort of, I kind of oversee the talent department, or the people who run the talent department, and also the branding department, some other things. And I'm on the board of the agency, so I'm very involved in the sort of shaping the direction that we go in as a company. We've been growing quite a bit. So it's really fun and interesting. And I feel like the great thing about being an agent is that every day I can be in a new business, I can be learn something new, do something different, which is a lot of fun. And that's my story.
Thank you, Adam, and thanks to all four of you for sharing a bit of your path and your wisdom. So we're going to start the breakout rooms in just a minute. Before we do